what is what is the Sabbath and what is the soul day? In African spirituality, we wish to clarify the difference between a Sabbath and a soul day. Now, those from the religious backgrounds, when we say Sabbath, most people's attention go to Saturday. That is the Sabbath. See, the word Sabbath has a very deep spiritual implications. It did not originate from Christian or Jewish sources. It is a spiritual term and it is an occultic term. Sabbath simply refers to reunion, a spiritual reunion. Sometimes even those of us who have been going to students reunion, family reunion, what does it mean? When there is a brief distance or separation between people, they come together to catch up, to make up for lost time. We call it a reunion. When we say the Sabbath, in the deeper spiritual sense, a Sabbath is more of a spiritual retreat. It can be a physical reunion, it can be an astral form where souls meet at a particular astral location to do whatever they want to do, to achieve whatever aim they want to achieve. Mostly it's a celebration, mostly they establish the reunion for a renewal of their own soul contract or a reunion with their own patron deity or the patron spirits or their guardian spirits. So the word Sabbath is ancient, is very ancient, and it usually occurs on the day of Saturn. This is why mistakenly Christians or in the Bible it has been known that the Sabbath day is Saturday. No, it occurs usually on the day of Saturn. That was because ancient cultures who are connected to the energy or the deity, the planetary deity of Saturn, usually establish or create their Sabbath on the day of Saturn. That is not really the case for many people around the world. And in African spirituality, um, the day that is assigned to be the day for nature, where we take that day aside, set that day aside to establish a kind of reunion between human beings or spirits in embodiment and spirits who are not in embodiment. That is basically human beings and other spiritual beings that we are aligned with. So, in our African spirituality, even in Ghana here, um, it is referred to as Akwasi Day. It is a Sabbath. It is basically set by our ancestors centuries ago, and it is being practiced to date. But for the sake of the question concerning Sabbath and Soul Day, we are going to hone it down to the soul. We are spirit beings in embodiment, in physical embodiment. Every spirit has a Sabbath. Every spirit has a Sabbath. Every spirit has a Sabbath. Therefore, our souls, you coming in embodiment, is something that most people, it's not really taken seriously as part of our indigenous spirituality. We only focus on the soul day, especially in Africa. We only feel that the soul day has more significance. So let it cut it short. When we say the soul day essentially is the planetary day where you finally exited your mother's womb. The planetary day where you finally exited your mother's womb. If it is on the day of the moon or the day of Mars, that will be your soul day. But on a Sabbath, everybody has a Sabbath. The Sabbath is the day the soul that you are chose to permanently take embodiment within the body. That is the Sabbath. In fact, the Sabbath is more significant than the soul day. Sometimes the day where your soul took embodiment, permanently possessed your body, usually matches with the same day you exited from your mother's womb upon delivery. Yes, sometimes it differs. It differs. Now, 6 months of pregnancy, when you are in your mother's womb, and you are 6 months in duration within your mother's womb, and also 6 months after delivery, that is the time frame. It's a time frame of 12 months. 6 months before delivery and 6 months after delivery. That time frame, the soul can choose to permanently possess and dwell within the body permanently at any time. On that day, the soul chooses to merge with the body. That is the Sabbath. And that is the day every person must keep holy. Holy. Therefore, within the Bible, it was the day of Saturn that the God of Israel made a pact and merged with the ancestor of Israel, and that is Abraham. When the God of Israel made his pact with Abraham, it was on the day of Saturn. That was why it was so important. Several generations down the line, that significance was hammered down, and Moses was reminded to make sure that that day is kept holy, because it is a day that represents a contract between the God of Israel and the nation of Israel. It was on that day the God of Israel merged and took over as the overlord of the nation of Israel in the distant future by making that pact, that contract, to be the God of the descendants of Abraham. It was on the day of Saturn. This is the real historical and the spiritual history behind Saturday as the day of Sabbath for the Israelites or the Jews. But every soul has a Sabbath. The day before your delivery, you see, before you exit your mother's womb, the soul that you are will keep hovering around the body within the womb, will not permanently merge. It is on the day of the Sabbath, that particular planetary day, that the soul decides to establish permanent link with the body, creating what is known as the silver cord. That silver cord, the day the silver cord is permanently made and established between body and soul, that is the Sabbath. And that is the day you must keep holy. It is the day that is kept holy, and it is honored and appreciated and celebrated as the day that the body and the soul merged in incarnation. That was when incarnation finally begins. So sometimes you can give birth to a child, and 6 months after delivery, even 2 or 3 months, the soul has not merged with the body. The soul will continue to hover around the body. By the time frame is 6 months before birth, 6 months after birth. That is the Sabbath. But the soul day is the day finally the body itself, the vessel, exited the mother's womb into the world